Thingkho Le Malcha, by KSO Media and Documentation Cell, issue number 59, Thursday, 9 November, 2023. Headlines. Amongst missing 4, 2 murdered, whereabouts of the other 2 remains unknown. Kuki Inpi Chundel demands removal of Meitei AR commanding officer posted in Ceylon. Abduction case, Kuki Apex body demands stringent actions against Meitei criminals as per law of the land. Intense public movement resurfaces over brutal murder of abducted Kuki Zo tribals, tension high in Kangpokpi. Zo United meets Mizoram NGO Coordination Committee in Asval. Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, ITLF, meets MHA officials in Lamka. Manipur Naga Students Association suspends economic blockade temporarily. NISO protests over Manipur violence rock Northeast, Centre slammed foreign action. Why understanding Manipur is important for India's national security. Thingkho Le Malcha, Relief Center update. Don Bosco High School Relief Center, Salem Veng, Lamka, managed by Young Vifei Association, YVA, General Headquarters. Total inmates registered, 1093. Male, 545. Female, 548. Kuki victims update as on October 16, 2023. Deaths, 146. Villages burnt, 200 plus. Houses burnt, 7,000 plus. Churches and synagogues burnt, 360. Displaced persons, 41,425. Amongst missing 4, 2 murdered, whereabouts of the other 2 remains unknown. A dead body of a woman suspected to be one of the 4 missing persons in the Kangchupchingkong incident was recovered in Taranpokpi area of Impal West on Wednesday. Police said that the body was found with bullet wound on the head, and later sent to RIMS Impal for post-mortem examination. Another body of a man in his 40s was found in Takhok Maple Maka area of Impal East District late on Tuesday night. The deceased was found with a bullet wound on his head and his hands tied behind his back. The body was sent for post-mortem examination to NIMS. The body of the woman is believed to be one of the persons who were waylaid and abducted by the Meitei mob at Kangchupchingkong. Several reports suggested that the missing persons were taken over from the Central Security Forces by the Meitei militia and later tortured and lynched in broad daylight in the Death Valley, which is corroborated by the recently viral video of a tribal man being chased around at Urupok the day before. The identities of 2 bodies are yet to be confirmed. Police sources have said that FIR is registered and investigations is on. But the past few months have shown that the lives and dignity of the Kuki Zo victims come last in the order of importance to the Meitei police force. Thus, the intervention of the central institutions is a must. The whereabouts of the missing individuals, whether they are alive or killed, is a question the center must answer since the Meitei forces have no regards for Kuki Zo lives. Kuki Inpi Chundel demands removal of Meitei AR commanding officer posted in Ceylon. Vehemently condemning the action of the 1st Assam Rifles commanding officer posted at Ceylon, who was allegedly colluding with the separatist Meitei militants without upholding his oath to serve the interests of the nation, the Kuki Inpi Chundel on Wednesday demanded the concerned authorities to remove the Meitei ARCO with immediate effect. In a statement, the Kuki Inpi Chundel stated that on 8 November 2023, the villagers of Ivamjang came to learn about the infiltration bid by Meitei militants from Myanmar into Indian soil with the collusion of a Meitei commanding officer of 1 Assam Rifles posted at Ceylon village, Kangjoy subdivision in Chundel district. The Assam Rifles CO had reportedly planned to transport the militants to Impal Valley and made prior arrangement for the same. On being alerted about the nefarious plan of the ARCO, the womenfolk of the area stormed New Santal Assam Rifles outpost to foil the infiltration bid of Meitei militants into Manipur. In retaliation, the said Meitei AR officer harassed the womenfolk and misused his power against the locals by forcing them to comply with his plan. It said mention may be made that the Kuki Zo people of the said area had protested on September 2, 2023 against the posting of the Meitei officer at Ceylon village. The Kuki Inpi Manipur had earlier written to the DG Assam Rifles on the July 25, 2023 regarding the same issue, citing the apprehension of the local populace considering the ongoing ethnic cleansing against the Kuki Zo tribals by the Meiteis. In response, a communique was received from the General Staff Officer I, Operations, on behalf of the DG Assam Rifles, VD No 3.11011/128/GS, Ops/2023/978 dated August 8, 2023. In the communique, it was clearly mentioned that no AR personnel shall function in one's own capacity and that appropriate disciplinary action will be initiated against the offenders. Abduction case, Kuki Apex body demands stringent actions against Meitei criminals as per law of the land. Stating that a bestial act of crime against humanity upon innocent Kuki Zo civilians by the Meiteis remain unabated in the ongoing state-sponsored ethnic cleansing pogrom, the Kuki Inpi Manipur has strongly demanded the Government of India, particularly the Ministry of Home Affairs, to promptly take stringent measures in nabbing the culprits and punish them in accordance with the law of the land. In a statement released on Thursday, the Kuki Apex body said the gruesome murder of 2 Kuki Zo Individuals who were among the 5 individuals forcibly abducted by the Métis categorically declared the outrageous intentions of the Métis and the Métis-led Manipur state government against the Kuki-Zo community. In this most horrifying incident of violence, swift and strict measures should be taken up by the central security agencies against the Métis community in the same manner operations has been conducted at the Kuki-Zo areas. The central government has the bounden duty and responsibility to ensure impartial justice to be delivered to the Kuki-Zo victims without further delay, Kim said. Jangalun Haokip, Secretary Information and Publicity, Kim, said in the morning of November 7, 2023, 5 Kuki-Zo individuals namely Mr. Mongluen Haokip, 65, Nankim, 60, Nilam, 55, John Thangjalam Haokip, 25, Jamkathang, 40, were going to Phaijiang village, Kangpokpi district, to perform nuptial customary practices. The Métis militia and members of the Arambai Tengal intercepted their vehicle at Kangchup Chingkong and mercilessly murdered 2 of them. The intervention of the Central Security Forces barely helped rescue Mr. Mongluen Haokip, a 65-year-old, resident of Bokut, Lamka, who is now being hospitalized in critical condition while the whereabouts of the 2 others are still unknown, Haokip said. In the wake of the endless atrocities perpetrated by the radical Métis militia in connivance with the Métis-led Manipur state government, it is crucial for the central government to realize the intensity and gravity of the ethnic cleansing against the Kuki-Zo community by the collective Métis leadership, and therefore ensure appropriate security measures for the Kuki-Zo people and expedite the political dialogue for urgent political solution for peace and stability in the region. At the same time, the central government must firmly respond to the anti-constitutional policies adopted by the Métis to safeguard the unity, integrity, and sanctity of the country. Moreover, the Kuki-Inpi Manipur was also deeply concerned of the sluggish approach of the law-enforcing agencies against the demands of the Kuki-Zo civil societies for the safety of the abducted individuals. The concerned authorities must comparably take stringent and immediate action against the gruesome murder of the 2 individuals and the forceful abduction and detention of the other 2 whose fate lies on the commitment of the central government, it added. Intense public movement resurfaces over brutal murder of abducted Kuki-Zo tribals, tension high in Kangpokpi. Tension ran high in Manipur. Kuki-Zo dominated Kangpokpi district as intense mass movement resurfaced once again, creating an atmosphere resembling a situation like that of the initial stage of Manipur mayhem that had erupted on May 3 following the 4 abducted Kuki-Zo brutal murder. Image got viral on social media. The situation in Kangpokpi had already been very tense since the abduction of wedding party goers from Churachandpur abducted on their way towards Kangpokpi side at Kangchup Chingkong area allegedly by the Métis mob on November 7 morning, and also the alleged illegal arrest of 2 innocent Kuki-Zo by Manipur police in connection with the missing 2 Métis boys on November 5. Enraged mob at Kangpokpi protested in front of SP Kangpokpi's office yesterday afternoon as no outcome has surfaced after the expiry of KOTU's 24-hour ultimatum to the authorities concerned to rescue and bring back the abducted Kuki-Zo wedding partygoers safe and sound and also release the 2 arrested Kuki-Zo. Hundreds of Kuki-Zo people across the district in more than 5 locations along the National Highway 2 began mass demonstrations since November 8 evening, though there was no disruption of the highway but intensified checking and frisking of vehicles along the highway. Today, at around 4:30 p.m. the Kuki-Zo people across Kangpokpi district congregated at Brig M. Thomas Ground at Kangpokpi town and carried out a massive mass rally against the alleged illegal detention of 2 innocent Kuki-Zo at Senapati police station and the abduction/kidnapping of the 4 Kuki-Zo. The rallyists approached the office of SP Kangpokpi via the National Highway 2 and held a protest in front of the SP office. The protesters shouted slogans such as "Release the illegal detention of 2 innocent Kuki-Zo, hand over the 4 abducted Kuki-Zo, we want justice, and we want separate administration." 5 Kuki-Zo from Churachandpur's Bokut village on November 7 en route to Kangpokpi's Phaijiang village to perform nuptial ceremony practices were waylaid on their way and abducted by the Métis mob. A 65-year-old Mongluen Haokip, father of an Indian Army soldier, who was one amongst the 5 individuals, had a narrow escape with critical injury as the Assam Rifles managed to rescue him. He was later airlifted to a neighboring state and is under medical treatment in a critical condition. The whereabouts of the 4 others, 2 male and 2 female, namely, Nankim, 60, wife of the rescued individual Mongluen Haokip, Nilam Haokip, 55, wife of Ginkai Haokip, John Thangjalam Haokip, 25, son of T. Paoboy and Jamkathang Langhal, 40, son of Semkaho Langhal, had been not known after their abduction until the image of their brutal murder was viral this evening. However, there is no report of any arrest in connection with the incident till the filing of this report. Meanwhile, 2 individuals from the Kuki-Zo community were reportedly arrested by security forces in connection with the missing case of 2 Métis boys on November 5. The police claimed the duo to be cadres of KRA-U, under suspension of operations with the government. They were reportedly remanded in police custody till November 17. However, the Kuki-Zo people strongly refuted the police allegation and claimed the duo as innocent civilians, and demanded their immediate release after meeting the SP Kangpokpi One of the Kuki-zo womenfolk said that they had put up their demands to the SP Kingpokpi and also aired their disappointment over various issues concerning the enforcement of law and order and administration with regards to dealing with the Kuki-zo people. She continued that as the public movement had begun, they would no longer tolerate any ill treatment and stepmotherly treatment towards the Kuki-zo people. She also said that the sentiment of the Kuki-zo people in Kangpokpi district has been deeply touched and the people will not tolerate the illegal detention of the two Kuki-zo by Manipur police at Senapati. She then said that the two Kuki-zo illegally detained by Manipur police must be released without condition at the earliest. She also said that the dead bodies of the four Kuki-zo people brutally murdered must be handed over within 24 hours to their respective families. The Kuki-zo women's leader warned that if their demands are not met within the stipulated time, they will no longer remain silent and intensify the mass movement. Meanwhile, the Committee on Tribal Unity, KOTU, Sadar Hills Kangpokpi district imposed public agitation in all Kuki-zo-dominated areas in connection with the arrest of two Kuki-zo individuals and the brutal murder of the four Kuki-zo people. Ng. Luan Kip-jen, KOTU's media cell coordinator, said that in pursuance of the expiry of the 24-hour ultimatum served to the concerned authorities to bring those 5 kidnapped family members of a wedding party from Kangchup Chingkhong on November 7 by Meitei miscreants for their safe return. It is however learned that 2 of the 5 have been brutally murdered and 1 was rescued by the center security forces, but the whereabouts of remaining 2 individuals remains yet to be ascertained. He also said that it has been learned that 2 Kuki-zo individuals, Lungkosiai Shangloy of Si, Ison Village, Cycle, and Satgaujin Hangxing of Kamanam Village in Litan were arrested on alleged abduction cases of 1 Avinash Maibam and Ningthajum Anthony of Akamawang Laikai by the Senapati police. The Committee on Tribal Unity is constrained to impose public agitation in all areas dominated by the Kuki-zo communities in Sadar Hills, Kangpokpi WEF from November 9 evening until the rest of the kidnapped family members are safely returned to their families and the concerned authority released the 2 Kuki-zo individuals who are detained at Senapati police station on false charges of abduction without any condition. Zo United meets Mizoram NGO Coordination Committee in Asval. The leaders of recently formed Zo United and Mizoram's non-governmental organizations, NGO, Coordination Committee today held a fruitful meeting at Central YMA Committee Room at Asval, Mizoram. The Zo United executives were led by its convener Albert Renthliai, co-convener Ch Ajang Kongsai and Secretary Reverend Dr. Vanlong Hakthang. The team comprised of 23 members. In the meeting, leaders of the Zo United extended their heartfelt gratitude to the people of Mizoram for the relentless supports extended to the Zo people of Manipur. The leaders also informed the Coordination Committee that more than 203 villages and more than 8,166 houses have been burnt down in Manipur violence. More than 50,000 people have been displaced as a result of the ethnic cleansing against the Kuki-zo people and more than 150 people have already lost their lives. This had led to the establishment of more than 200 relief camps and 42 people have lost their lives while staying in the relief camps due to poor healthcare facilities. The Mizoram Coordination Committee, led by its chairman Pulal Makwana and others, spoke during the meeting. NGOCC chairman Pulal Makwana said that the people of Mizoram would not stop helping their own Zo brethren of Manipur, and for that matter Zo United had been set up for a better coordination. The chairman assured the visiting leaders to any kind of assistances in every possible ways in the future too. The Zo United leaders on November 8 had also held a meeting with Zonathlak MLAs and Sioux groups at Asval. Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, ITLF, meets MHA officials in Lamka. The representatives from the Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, ITLF, today met officials from the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, at the Intelligence Bureau office in Lamka headquarter Vang, Churachandpur, at around 10:30 am. The MHA was represented by Joint Director IB, Northeast, Dr. Mandeep Singh Tuli and Sioux Interlocutor A.K. Mishra. The Deputy Commissioner of Lamka Tharun Kumar, Joint Director IB, Impul, Nanasambandan and Assistant Director IB, Lamka, Soiman Thangthangzing were also present in the meeting. The MHA officials from Delhi and the ITLF reviewed the matters and progress of the August 8 talks between the ITLF and Union Home Minister Amit Shah in Delhi. In the said meeting, the tribal body had demanded for the withdrawal of Manipur Police Commando from tribal areas. Amit Shah had said that the centre does not have absolute control over a state government but promised to keep check on the activities and operations of the personnel posted at tribal areas and that they should act in accordance with the command of the central forces. The ITLF expressed their displeasure over the recent events at Moor, which has brought to light the failure of Amit Shah and his promises. Dr. Mandeep reaffirmed the centre's commitment to not allow such things from happening again, and informed them of the government's plan to depute a Kuki-zo police officer at Moor. The members discussed on the issue of burial of the deceased Kuki-zo martyrs and could not come to a satisfactory conclusion and thus postponed the issue to be discussed on a later date. The tribal body also expressed their displeasure over the high-handedness of the CBI and NIA in nabbing the alleged and suspected culprits in the case of 2 missing Meitei youths within the tribal areas and reminded the central officials of the atrocities meted out to the Kuki-zo, citing examples of David Theke, Tunxing mother and son, Impul car wash incident, naked parade of the Kuki women, mob attack on MLA Vungsajan Vault and his driver, and how the same CBI and NIA have left the cases unattended till now. The officials reassured the tribal leaders that justice would be served to all, albeit the time consumed in delivering the same, and that the CBI and NIA should be pushed to speed up the process of investigation. On the issue of transfer and release of Kuki's inmates in Impul jails, the tribal body leaders thanked the officials over the recent releases and transfer of some of the inmates and further requested the officials to expedite the process for complete transfer and release of the remaining inmates who are still stuck in Impul jails. The meeting also discussed the issue of arms looted in Impul Valley by the Meitei community. The tribal body leaders appealed the officials for expediting the recovery of looted arms. The MHA officials reassured them that the operation for the same is underway and requested the tribal body to also surrender the arms looted within the district of Lamka. The ITLF reassured that it shall be done right and only after it is done in Impul. Over the tribal body's question on the issue of IDPs, the Deputy Commissioner of Lamka, Tharun Kumar, highlighted the efforts of the government in handling the IDP situation and also briefed the meeting on the future plan of action from the government. AK Mishra, the interlocutor, on the question of the situation of political talks, said the political talks with the Sioux groups that began in 2005 is still underway, and the government has stood firm on its stand and not moved away from the gist of the talk till this moment. He said that the concerned groups, post the outbreak of the ongoing conflict, have defined and clarified the substance of the demand for separate administration to the center government and that he has submitted the demand to the Government of India and government's approval is now awaited. Mishra further said that there is a need for peaceful environment for any political solution and the outbreak of violence impeded such processes. He requested the tribal body to pursue their political demand through democratic processes. Speaking on how the center government wants for a separate administration for the Kuki, Mishra said that for such a solution to occur, certain elements are affected in the process and such elements need to be properly handled and dealt with. Manipur Naga Students Association suspends economic blockade temporarily. The All Naga Students Association Manipur, ANSAM, has temporarily suspended its ongoing economic blockade along the National Highway 102 with immediate effect on Thursday, in view of the dire hardship faced by the general public in the midst of ongoing conflict and following the assurance committed by the convener, Naga Legislator Forum, Mr. Awangbo Numai, Honorable Minister, on behalf of the government to fulfill the two legitimate demands of ANSAM, the emergency meeting of ANSAM, Executive Council, units of ANSAM and representative of Naga Legislature Forum which was held at Sheli Chara Memorial Hall, ANSAM Secretariat, Tahamsam, Senapati, on November 9, 2023 has resolved to suspend the ongoing economic blockade being called by the association temporarily, ANSAM said in a press communiqué today. Acknowledging the process of restoring mobile internet with partial opening of the same in some parts of the district headquarters and while appreciating the difficulty faced by the government, ANSAM made it very clear that government should take prompt action for opening of mobile internet in all the areas in the state not affected by the violence including the interior villages and provide permanent and uninterrupted services as assured by Minister and the pending result of Assistant Professor, 145+45 Street Special Drive, be declared promptly as per the assurance.it said the ongoing agitation shall be resumed anytime in the event of failing to implement the agreements of Memorandum of Agreement, MOA, signed on October 26, 2023 between Government of Manipur and ANSAM in the presence of the Chief Minister of Manipur. The association also expressed its strong condemnation against Major Deepak Kataria of 16 Assam Rifles, Hengbung, for his heinous act of intimidating the ANSAM volunteers at T. Kulin while enforcing the aforementioned agitation. Such hostile attitude and high-handedness of the Assam Rifles towards the student community is highly questionable and uncalled for. The notoriety of Assam Rifles surfacing again at this juncture is unfortunate and a matter of great concern, ANSAM said. NISO protests over Manipur violence rock Northeast Center slammed for inaction. The Northeast Students Organization, NISO, on Thursday, November 9, staged massive demonstrations across 7 Northeast states, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland and Tripura, over the 6-month-long violence in Manipur. Students' bodies from each of the 7 Northeast states, who are members of the NISO, staged sit-in demonstrations in respective state capitals demanding permanent peace in Manipur. The demonstrations, besides demanding peace in Manipur, also slammed the BJP-led central government for its alleged inaction to bring normalcy in the strife-torn Northeast state. In Arunachal Pradesh, the All Arunachal Pradesh Students' Union, AAPSU, member of the NISO, organized a one-day demonstration for permanent peace in Manipur at the NIFA Club building in Itangar. Benji Apilia, Vice President of AAPSU, and Preetam Sonam, IPR Secretary of NISO, briefed the media, expressing concern over the ongoing violence in Manipur. Both AAPSU and NISO criticized the central government for its failure to control the situation in Manipur and urged for an amicable solution to resolve the ongoing crisis. Students in Mizoram staged a sit-in demonstration at the Vinapa Hall grounds where a brief program was held. During the program, Lao Thingkho, president of Mizo Zerlai Paul, MZP, expressed their deep disappointment regarding the unresolved Manipur issue. He emphasized the urgency for the central government to take swift action, urging them not to overlook the matter from a distance. Lao Thingkho also expressed their hope for a visit by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the newly elected Chief Minister of Mizoram to address the dispute once they form a government. Ricky Lalbiak Mawiya, NISO vice chairman, also spoke at the event, condemning the prolonged Manipur conflict and urging the central government to take immediate, unbiased action to resolve it. He emphasized that NISO had come together to demand a fair and prompt resolution to the issue. In Tripura, the Twipra Students' Federation, TSF, held a sit-in demonstration demanding permanent peace in Manipur. In Manipur, also the All Manipur Students' Union, AMSU, staged a sit-in protest at Kishampat Limajam Lakai in Imphal. In Nagaland, the Naga Students' Federation, NSF, under the aegis of NISO demonstrated near the Raj Bhavan in Kohima demanding permanent peace in Manipur. Similar demonstration was also organized at Shillong in Meghalaya by the Khasi Students' Union, KSU. In Assam, NISO along with the All Assam Student Union, AASU, staged a protest at Swahid Nyas Bhawan in Guwahati, demanding immediate restoration of peace in Manipur. News in Pic. As many as 7 Kukizo youths from Manipur attended the recently concluded 2-day Northeast Youth Leaders Conclave on Empowering Youth Leadership, Bridging Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and Inclusive Socio-Economic Development on 7th and November 8, 2023 at the Capital Convention Centre Kohima, Nagaland. The conclave was organized by the National Foundation for India, NFI, and co-funded by the European Union and Neiman as the knowledge and technical partner. The conclave brings together 100 youth leaders from the northeastern region, NER, engaging in relevant discussions, knowledge sharing, and collaborative actions related to the SDGs. Why understanding Manipur is important for India's national security. Manipur is today a divided state. Even 6 months after the Meitei-Kuki conflict began, the situation has not returned to normalcy. Indeed, it is only exhibiting signs of worsening with recent acts of sniper attacks on security personnel and mobs attempting to take over armories. Urban warfare is on in the Bejeweled province. Having visited Manipur in October, this author's clear summation, after having conferred with all the stakeholders including the Indian Army, Assam Rifles, civil society organizations, traders union, journalists and visiting relief camps, that it would be a while before durable peace can return to the state. This column examines the issue of national security management in the context of the atmospherics in Manipur. After all, sooner than later, a post-mortem has to be undertaken. It is also not comprehended as to why the problem is being allowed to fester for so long. Is there a long-term plan that the policy planners have in mind? Do they feel that a fatigue factor will set in sooner or later and the warring groups will one day, on their own accord, go back home and to business as usual? A close reading by this author, especially after his whirlwind visit in October, informs that there is more going on in Manipur that meets the eye. It is also one of the considered view of this author that violence, even if there were, eventually, to be an end, since violence too has a grammar of its own, should not be permitted to incubate. Manipur has set and showcased a nasty precedence for onlooking formations across the country. Anti-national elements could well be taking a page out of the manner in which complete lawlessness has taken over an Indian state, and with the state watching the unfolding of the scenario with helplessness. In any event, a few points that are necessary for correct national security management are being flagged for consideration. After all, Manipur has also provided the Indian state with an opportunity to review its strategies, objectives, and policies. The blueprint for such a review should stem from the following. A. The National Security Management Team or even the head of such an apparatus must be endowed with a sound comprehension of the history of India's traditional and non-traditional security issues. The waypoint from where the history of such a subject matter began cannot be easily determined. Indeed, one can go back all the way to the time when Vedic civilization came to be comprehended or even when the Greco-Bactrians sought to enter the Indian subcontinent. But such an enterprise would be both an extended one that could go astray and one that could become the theme of debate. Therefore, the undemanding way out, and one that would be somewhat effortless, could be to begin with India's independence and the various national security issues that have come to the fore since 1947. The history of Manipur, certain observers would say, is shrouded in the shadows of mystery. But the fact of the matter is that the state is an integral part of India. This is notwithstanding the fact that myriad insurgencies have come to the fore since the time of its incorporation and have refused, in most parts, to be mainstreamed. It is also true, Manipur has always been resistant to counterinsurgency interventions. It is perhaps the only state in India that has an innate robust insurrectionary character, and the insurgent terror disposition has found strong roots in India's near abroad, particularly in Myanmar's Sagaing division and, to an extent, in China. Therefore, if Manipur is taken as one of the important case studies for a national security management team schoolwork, then it would not only be important to understand the imperatives that entailed the merger agreement of Thingkho Le Malcha with India on September 21, 1949, the manner in which Hoikim formed an underground Communist Party of Manipur on October 29, 1948, but also the conduct of the Coordination Committee, CORCOM, a conglomeration of 6 valley-based insurgent groups. BIGs, now 5, G5, with one group exhibiting its willingness to enter into a dialogue process with New Delhi, in the 3 neat clusters of Myanmar. After all, it cannot be the case that only a current central agency report about say these BIGs presently entering Manipur via the Samra tracks with the aid of the NSCN, IM, to lead the anti-Kuki terror that can provide the basis for a ground knowledge of India's national security imperatives as it pertains to Manipur. India's national security managers need to be better prepared to deal with the issue at hand. There should also be a humility to be educated. National security management, after all, is serious business. B. National security managers have to also have a full-bodied vision of what a strong India should be like in the immediate future. Factors such as Kashmir, left-wing extremism, the northeast and even aspects such as problems with India's neighbors have to be taken into account when a blueprint is being sought to be constructed. A clear design that can be acted upon in real time has to be drawn up. C. The management team that is expected to oversee national security management must also be completely nonpartisan in its outlook. Such an exterior has to be coupled with impeccable integrity and clarity that national security is not subservient to a political ideology. D. It is important to be both foresight and farsighted. Simply put, the national security manager should have the ability to realize the fault lines before they become unmanageable. This author is of the considered view that if the central agencies had been alert in the immediate aftermath of the Manipur High Court judgment or even during the Solidarity March of May 3, 2023 or had even sent red alerts to New Delhi that all is not well in the state, then Manipur could well have been rid of the agony that it is presently experiencing. It is also possible that alerts were sent from Imphal but were not taken seriously by the competent authorities in New Delhi. In the case of Manipur, the inability to read the entrails of calamity that have come upon the state is in ample evidence. Simple rearguard action to preempt the situation would have prevented the escalation. E. A person who is advising the Chief Executive of India has been chosen for not only his proven track record of internal security management but also because he was expected to be a person of extremely well-honed and high intellectual caliber. A question mark seems to adorn the above when the question of Manipur is taken into account. F. The person should also have been a wizard who can cobble together an ironclad and consistent doctrine for India's national security, including counter-terrorism. The inability to do so is holding the country to ransom and is both incomprehensible and very disturbing. G. The national security manager should not have been straitjacketed in a past that refuses to permit out-of-the-box solutions, including international negotiations that would usher in peace for India. A beginning seems to have been made in this direction, primarily with Myanmar, but the present necessitates an accelerated pace of action. The same is the case with the India-China boundary issue. H. The national security team leader should have been a reliable team player who leads by example and commands the respect of the entire national security setup of the country. In other words, although the national security manager is not expected to be omniscient, his writ pertaining to the national security of India, which would be arrived at after great deliberations and discussion with peers, must not have opposing views that hurt the country's image inside and outside India. The atmospherics of the present seem to be exhibiting aspects quite to the contrary. Manipur is being debated in the European Parliament, and protest marches are being staged in Washington, D.C. The sight of a feeding mother in a relief camp in Churachandpur with a 3-month-old infant on her lap and her inability to lactate, as this author was witness to, brought forth tears, disgust and anger. Such a state of affairs in a state of the Republic of India is unacceptable. The author is a conflict theorist and best-selling author. Views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely that of the author.